Bombshell Pentagon official was silenced after whistleblowing the FBI spy in Trump campaign by Amy Moreno for truthfeednews.com. After a Pentagon official blew the whistle on the FBI spy game, he lost everything. You'll recall that Stefan Halper was revealed as the FBI spy who was planted around the Trump campaign in hopes of gathering intel. A Pentagon analyst discovered this and reported it, essentially outing Halper. Since then, that analyst had his security clearance revoked. From the Daily Caller, 1 year before Stefan Halper was revealed as an FBI informant who spied on the Trump campaign, a Pentagon analyst complained to his bosses about astronomically outrageous contracts given to Halper, a former University of Cambridge professor. That analyst, Adam Lovinger, has since been stripped of his security clearance. He says because he blew the whistle on the Pentagon contracts with Halper and Long-Term Strategic Group, LTSG, a firm owned by a childhood friend of Chelsea Clinton's named Jacqueline Newmeyer deal. Lovinger flagged the contracts in 2016 to his boss, James Baker, the director of the Office of Net Assessments, ONA, a small Defense Department unit known as the Pentagon's think tank. Shortly after joining the National Security Council, Lovinger's security clearance was revoked on May 1, 2017. Baker, an Obama appointee, made 4 specific allegations against Lovinger. He claims that Lovinger made an unauthorized trip to Israel, that he took home unclassified academic papers, that he read classified documents on an airplane, and that he had unauthorized contacts with the Indian government. Lovinger has disputed the claims. He filed a whistleblower retaliation complaint in May with the Pentagon's Inspector General. On July 18th, he filed an ethics complaint against Baker with the Pentagon's senior ethics official. The Washington Times first reported on Lovinger's complaints about Halper's contracts with ONA. The Daily Caller News Foundation previously reported on Lovinger's claims about a $11.2 million contract that ONA struck with LTSG. Halper's work for ONA consisted of writing policy papers on geopolitical hotspots like China, Russia, and India. Government records show that Washington Headquarters Services, a subdivision of ONA, paid Halper a total of $1,058,161 for 4 contracts that lasted from May 30th, 2012 to March 29th, 2018. Halper's ONA work closely mirrors a pitch he made on September 1st, 2016 to George Papadopoulos, a former Trump campaign aide, whom Halper contacted on behalf of the FBI. In an email first reported by the DCNF, the Daily Caller News Foundation, Halper offered $3,000 and an all-expense-paid trip to London to Papadopoulos to write a policy paper on energy issues in the Mediterranean Sea. Papadopoulos, an energy consultant with enterprise on Cyprus, Turkey, and Israel, accepted the offer and traveled to London, where he met with Halper several times. Papadopoulos has told associates that during dinner one night, Halper randomly asked him about the Russians and Hillary Clinton's emails. Halper was accompanied by a woman named Azra Turk, whom he claimed was his assistant. Papadopoulos delivered the paper to Halper in early October of 2016. Halper sent a wire for $3,000 to Papadopoulos' bank account. Lovinger was unaware of Halper's contact with Papadopoulos when he emailed Baker in October of 2016 about ONA's contracts with Halper. The 12-year Pentagon veteran complained to Baker of the moral hazard associated with the Washington headquarters services contracting with Stefan Halper, the Times reported. Sean Bigley, a lawyer for Lovinger, says Halper's contracts were a mystery to ONA staff. In an interview with the Daily Caller News Foundation on Thursday, he said Lovinger and others on staff questioned how Halper was getting these astronomically outrageous contracts to do very little. Bigley also told the Daily Caller News Foundation that Halper's work for ONA could easily have provided him cover for his secret FBI and CIA activity. Halper's affiliations with the ONA as an academic in writing these reports gives him really great cover for the outreach he was doing with people like Papadopoulos, because it would be entirely logical for him to approach somebody like that and ask for that type of work product, Bigley told the DCNF in a phone interview. It's kind of the perfect cover. It's if that's what it was. Papadopoulos was not Halper's only Trump campaign contact. The 37-year-old professor had already met Trump campaign advisors, Carter Page and Sam Clovis, by the time he reached out to Papadopoulos. Halper and Page first met at a political forum held at the University of Cambridge between July 11th and 12th, 2016, around 3 weeks before the FBI officially opened its investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. So what does this tell you? It was being set up before July 30th of 2016. Okay, this was a setup. Halper worked closely at Cambridge with Sir Richard Dearlove, the former head of MI6, the British equivalent of the CIA. Page has told the DCNF he and Halper maintained contact throughout the campaign and beyond. They last spoke in September of 2017, the same month that the government's Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA warrant against Page expired. Halper, a veteran of 4 Republican administrations, met with Clovis, the campaign's national co-chairman, on August 30th, 2016 at a Washington, D.C. area hotel. Clovis says he and Halper had a benign chat about foreign policy, but he says he now believes that Halper used the meeting as a pretext to reach out to Papadopoulos. Halper's role as an FBI and CIA informant was not revealed until May. It has since been reported that Halper provided information about the Trump campaign that ended up being used by Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian government. Bigley, a former investigator for the Office of Personnel Management, also contends that ONA flouted federal law by using Halper to engage with foreign government officials on behalf of the Defense Department. He was being used by Net Assessment to go out essentially and engage with foreign government officials. As a contractor, that's totally illegal, Bigley said, adding that he was unable to provide details about what officials Halper met or what governments they worked for because the information could be classified. And yet they would hire him and send him out essentially unsupervised to engage with high-level foreign government officials, ostensibly communicating U.S. policy positions and trying to establish relationships and things like that, said Bigley. It allows the contractors to potentially insert their own motivations into their dealings with foreign government officials, ostensibly on behalf of the United States. If in fact he was being bankrolled by ONA to go out and develop these relationships and then turn around and use those relationships to the detriment of the Trump campaign, in a sense, you could argue that the DOD was really footing the bill for that. You think? The Department of Defense was footing the bill for that, huh? So, yeah, but isn't it nice that it was Chelsea Clinton, the long-term strategic group? It was a childhood friend of Chelsea's, okay? It was a setup before the investigation, they claimed, and Halper was set up here to go after the contracts with the ONA. Complaints about Halper, yeah. So in other words, they took away Lovinger, what is his name? They took away his security clearance when he outed what was going on, because Halper was actually working for them undercover in order to, like he was saying to Papadopoulos, that, you know, I just want a paper and this. It was like a setup for Papadopoulos. They were setting this up prior to June 30th. So Bigley, the attorney for Lovinger, points all this out. You see? It's very confusing because there's so much that takes place. You can hardly keep track of everything. But in other words, the Department of Defense was paying Halper. And here government records show that the Washington Headquarters Service, a subdivision of ONA, paid Halper a total of $1,058,000 for 4 contracts that lasted up until March 2018. It started from 2012. Okay, so he was already on the payroll, I guess, before Trump, so. But it's a lot of money. I'm telling you, but you know what the thing is? It all leads back to Hillary Clinton. This was a setup from the get-go. But, you know, look, I hope they keep track more so than I can, because this is too intricate. But it just shows that that they were going after the Trump campaign any which way they knew how. And again, it leads back to Clinton again. So what's her face? Chelsea is following in the footsteps of her mother. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's very confusing with this ONA and the LTSG, who was a friend of Clinton's. Yeah, you know, you have to take time, and how do you put it all together? You know, I mean, they did it, but in other words, we know that they tried to silence the whistleblower, that Halper was the spy in the Trump campaign, and he was being paid around the table by all these government entities not to show that he was actually a spy. But now it's discovered, and it was discovered back then, but they shut the whistleblower up, you see? Who shut the whistleblower? The FBI. And Obama, it mentioned Obama here too, that he, an Obama appointee, Baker, made 4 specific allegations against Lovinger, the whistleblower, you know, that he made unauthorized trips, yeah, and read things on the airplane that were classified. And Lovinger disputed these claims, and so he filed the retaliation complaint in May. with the Pentagon's Inspector General. Yeah. And then he got his attorney. And the attorney is pointing things out. So, look, if Lovinger was actually guilty of anything, he wouldn't have gotten his attorney to go after and point out these, these outrageous contracts, you see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.